Here's $1 for your campaign. Here's your seed money. Yeah, you whip his butt, Ron. Who's telling him that? Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Michael Voris Show. This episode, we're going to be talking about politics, but specifically Ron DeSantis, Florida governor, blah, 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 versus Donald Trump, the 800-pound gorilla in the room. I'm, of course, wearing the Republican red because that's what we're going to be talking about, because you don't want to necessarily spend any time talking about Cadaver Joe because, he's Cadaver Joe. I mean, there's nothing really you can say except he's a cadaver and run by whoever he needs to run by. I just want to tell you right off the bat here, this show is being brought to you, this particular episode. We just want to plug our men's conference, Strength and Honor Conference, that first weekend in August. You want a seat there, come here, bring friends, hang out, cool time. Click the button, things are good. Okay, let's go to the whole question of politics, and we're going to lay aside the question, about can you ever accomplish anything in politics again if you're a conservative or even a small C conservative? Is the system rigged? Is it fixed? Is all that it does? We're going to lay all that aside because, frankly, we don't actually know the answer to that. What we do know is this, that every single poll of self-professed Republican primary voters overwhelmingly are saying they're going to vote for Donald Trump. It's in the 60s. Ron DeSantis, now granted, he's just announced very recently that he's going to, he's throwing his hat in the ring and I'm going to run for president and blah, 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 and all that and everything. Good for Ron. Certainly no opposition to him. It's not like he, sucks and he's awful or anything like that. We're not supporting anybody in this. We're just talking about the dynamics of it. He's polling in the, mid to low teens, touching 20. When you are losing by 30 points, and in this case, 40 points, that is a heck of a lot of ground to have to make up. And so a good number of questions need to get answered here. It's important to note as we go into this that you can't necessarily consider the dynamic of what would happen in the general election of Biden versus Trump 2.0 or DeSantis versus Biden 1.0. You wouldn't know necessarily which way that would go. I think the assumption on a lot of people's parts are that, the Democrats going to cheat and they're going to win anyway and blah, 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 all that and everything. But early polling right now, and again, it's early and it's polling. We don't know how the polling has gone. But Biden is trailing both of them in, I think, the last 5 polls that have come out. And again, it's months away from the general election. It's about 8 months away from primaries beginning. The primaries obviously will be on the Republican side, and there might be a Democratic primary, but Biden's just going to sit in his basement, take naps, and do his thing like he did last time. But in the case of this situation, in the Republican primary vote, you're going to have to, if you're Ron DeSantis, you're going to have to overcome Donald Trump. And Donald Trump isn't just a candidate, and lay aside that he is a former president, and things are doing pretty well under his presidency, at least economically and sort of, America's stature in the world and all that and everything. Of course, they went after him with the impeachment, this and that, and Russia. All of it turned out to be complete and total bullcrap. But even despite that, despite all of it, inflation was, on the ground. Gas prices were under $2 a gallon. Things are doing pretty well. Even the left profited from Trump being in office. So when you look at what is it exactly that DeSantis runs on? He's kind of a mini Trump, like mini me. He's kind of like a mini Trump. When he won his gubernatorial race the first time around, it wasn't by that much. I mean, he beat Slocum, but Slocum turned out to be a crackhead or whatever his personal drug or whatever problems were, and he sort of kind of beat him by just a little bit. It was a somewhat narrow margin, nothing like the explosive margin he had in his reelection in 2022 as governor of Florida. Since that time, he has been extraordinarily active with the Republican Party in Florida. And for the first time, there are now more registered Republican voters in the state of Florida by hundreds of thousands. And that's a massive turnaround because there were hundreds of thousands of more registered Democrats prior to that. So in 2 or 3 years, he has flipped that state. It is deep red. It's so red, it's really off the board for Democrats. It's off the board for them, like New York is off the board for Republicans. Just, Republicans are not going to win a presidential race in New York, and Democrats are not going to win one in Florida. So it's just you've just got more registered voters in your camp. That's just kind of how the game works. So can DeSantis overcome Trump? Okay, let's talk about how this sort of thing works. When you go into a primary and you declare, sorry, I said that in the wrong order. When you declare I'm running for president in either party, and then you start, filing your paperwork to run in the primaries in particular states, because all of these individual races, all of these primaries are run individually. There is no such thing as a national election in the United States. There are 50 individual states with their own individual elections. They don't just all have the election on the same day, even for federal offices. But it's still the state voters electing their state, person to be, whatever it is the person's running for. It's not a national election. Even for president, it's not a national election. So the strategy of how, and I've been in politics and done politics reporting my entire life, essentially. Not every minute, but certainly more than the average bear. And I know how the system works very, very well. So you get somebody to back you. Some bodies to back you. Somebody's bankrolling you as a candidate, and some bodies, more than one. $1 billion will be spent on securing the White House in 2024. $1 billion was spent in 2016. $1 billion, more than $1 billion was spent in 2020. So you're starting to get up there. It's a heck of a lot of money, but you got to get through the primaries first. And here's the deal. The way, and this is true for both parties, we're just talking about the interesting race between Trump and DeSantis now. A slew of candidates come out. So sort of think of them as horses. And, people are walking around, saying, well, yeah, maybe, this looks like a good thoroughbred. Well, that one does too. And this one, I wonder how they do in a race with each other. So what they'll do, people who care and have a lot of money, they'll sort of test the horses out. And, they'll pay for, write a check for $100,000, $200,000, because to them that's chump change. And they sort of watch the beginning of how things turn out. Is advertising doing this? What are the issues that are at stake? How do they perform? Do people warm up to them? Do people not warm up to them? All of that stuff matters. But until but they'll line them all up in the gate. And until you sort of release the gate and off they go, you really don't know how they're going to do. And this is traditionally speaking. We already know how Trump's going to do. Thank you for watching The Michael Voris Show. If you'd like to watch the entire episode, please head over to churchmilton.com and sign up as a premium member. If you need to sign up to become a premium member, go to churchmilton.com/go premium.